I believe this is something we can all relate to. And once again, all of my stories are pretty personal. So I'm hoping that by letting you all in my world, you all see how different we are, but how much we're the same. Especially if you're getting older in life, you start out young, no friends to a lot of friends to, chilling by yourself and being comfortable in your own world. But I'm just going to speak on some things that were successful for me coming up and things that I felt real, real proud of, only to then be pushed back down by those closest to me or those that I care about or respected, at least to a point where I valued their opinion, as some would say. I remember one time, and like I said, these things are personal, but these are stories that we need to know, need to share, because I think they help us all grow. One time I got this job, man. I was so ecstatic about getting this job. And let me give you the background on this. I went through a crazy situation, ended up having my house go into foreclosure. I received a letter, didn't have a job at the time. I got into a car accident. So my car was in the shop at one point. Everything started piling up. And when I say it's piling up, it was so bad. I ended up taking 2 dogs that I had. I was a dog man, and had to take them to the shelter, and it was an awkward feeling. And I'm just giving you this background so you know where I'm coming from. It was an awkward feeling because this was one of the same shelters I used to go to and just donate supplies randomly. And they would see me all the time because I'd stop by and, play with the dogs and stuff like that. Dogs they thought were aggressive. I'd show them, no, this is how the owner had them. Yada, yada, yada. But long story shorter than it is, I got into a situation where my home was going into foreclosure. My car was, going to be repossessed after it was repaired from being in a car accident. I got up and I needed to get my mind right, so I drove all the way from Georgia to Florida. Not Florida, I'm sorry, to Illinois. And when I got to Illinois, I ended up, sleeping in the closet. The situation was just bad, man. I was tore up. And I think the people around me couldn't really understand. And if they could understand, they weren't very compromising to what was going on with me. But I ended up getting my car repossessed when I was up in Chicago, that area, Illinois. And I pretty much gave up on life, man. You know what I mean? And I'm just giving you this background because it'll tell you a little bit about, why I was feeling the way I am. But so before I left Georgia, I put all my stuff in a storage facility, hoping, the little things I had. And at the time, try not to laugh, but at the time, DVDs was a big thing. And I had a whole bunch of DVDs from my time in the military. I put them in this storage unit, some furniture, a new bed I bought, just little stuff that I had. The little things I had, because the house went into foreclosure and I was losing everything. It meant a lot to me. But I went up to Chicago, ended up not being able to pay the storage unit, which was in Georgia, right in Marietta, Georgia to be exact. And it was just one I found that did the 1 day. You pay $1 for the first month and then you pay the next month. So I paid the next month and that first month, but time went on when I was in Chicago. And I say Chicago, but it was right outside somewhere. I think Waukegan or something like that is what it's called. But I ended up getting my car repossessed when I was out there in Illinois, and I'm thinking, damn, things is going so wrong. The only thing that was going right for me at that time was the fact that I was going to the gym and my body was finally getting in shape. You know what I mean? And it wasn't a good shape, though, because I remember the old heads was like sitting down talking to me in the bathroom. No disrespect, nothing weird. But they would talk to me because they knew that look that I had on my face. I could sit on a machine, on that cardio machine all day, just daydreaming, not even watching TV, because I was going through some stuff. That's what I'm telling you. But I ended up going back down to Marietta, that area out there. And, I did a couple things, pulled a couple strings, and ended up getting an apartment. And the way I went back down there is I ended up getting my tax return. And I purchased this van off of Craigslist. Didn't have no locks on the van or nothing. Went all the way down to Marietta, Georgia. So I left Chicago, took this van all the way down to Marietta, Georgia. And keep in mind, the place that I found in Marietta, Georgia was right behind the storage facility that I put all my stuff in. And this was months and months and months ago. And I got into this apartment, and I mean, it was just pure luck. I got in this apartment. I showed them some old paycheck stubs, and I had to tell the person my story, one of the people there. And I'm going to be real with you. I think they did a couple things, pulled some strings, and got me in there. I'm not saying that whole part is true, but you can read between the lines. But nevertheless, I got in the apartment, right? And so I'm laying on the floor in the apartment. I've been there for about 2 weeks. I want to say I paid 2 months into the apartment, because what I was doing to get some money is, I'm going to be real with y'all, I thought my house was in foreclosure when I went back down to Marietta, which was months and months and months later. I still had a couple things in the house, because I didn't take everything out the house. I went back down and looked in, and, no sign was out front. So I did a couple yard sales from the house. My neighbor was like, "You still live here?" I was like, "Yeah, I just went on vacation." And so I did some yard sales and sold the stuff, and that's how I got the money for the apartment. Well, I'm laying down on the apartment floor, and I've been there for about 2 weeks looking for jobs, job after job. I remember Kinko's was a big thing. Nobody was hiring. No Home Depot, no nothing. And out of the blue, I get a phone call. I'm laying on the floor, right? Life going through hell. I was like, how did I get here? I was military, at the time, at one point. And, excuse me. I'm just trying to figure out how I got there. Like, what the hell is going on? Making myself smile in the mirror. But one morning, my phone rang, my cell phone, because I kept the same cell phone, believe it or not. And it was a job offer. And I was like, it was for a job that I filled out on usajobs.gov. A long time ago. I mean, it was months and months ago that I filled it out. And they wanted to offer me a job. And I said, okay, sure. I didn't know what it was, where it was. I just knew it was a damn job. I remember something about it. And they said, okay, we'll email you the details and then call you back tomorrow. So I go to my email. Keep in mind, I'm on E. I have nothing. I mean, I am below. Friends that I had at one point didn't respect me. I could just see it in their eyes. They didn't see the same person. You know what I mean? And nobody could really understand what was going on, partly because I wouldn't tell them what was going on, to be honest with you. But I got this. I look at my email and I can't believe this, what I'm seeing in here. I went from being on E, and I'm going to just tell y'all to keep it a buck, man. The job offer was for $59,000 a year. And I know some people are saying, like, that ain't nothing. That's nothing. But for me at the time, this was what, 2009, I want to say? 2008, 2009, that time frame. I could not believe somebody wanted to pay me $59,000 a year. I was thinking this is some type of joke. Somebody's playing me. So the people called me back the next day. I'm excited. I didn't think they was going to call. They was like, okay, you want it? I was like, yes, I do want it. They said, well, the job is in Winchester, Virginia, and you have to be here in I think it was a couple days. I had days to get there. So I get up there. I go my stuff in the car. The stuff I had in the apartment, I had just a couple items. The storage unit that I had up the hill, I ended up going up there and talking to the folks there, and I didn't tell them I already had one unit in there. And I convinced them to let me put some more stuff in another unit in that building. I knew my other stuff was lost. I was just trying to figure out what to do because I had this van and I needed to get up to Winchester, Virginia. So I get up to Winchester, Virginia, go to the job. I'm thinking I'm about to get this money. It's $59,000 a year. I'm feeling great about myself. And I only had enough money to stay in this motel, which was $156 a week. And I know this is a long story, but listen, I got to give y'all this so you can understand the feeling that I felt, okay? It was $156 a week. I only had enough money for 2 weeks, right, to live in this motel. I go to the job, and lo and behold, one day, you got, I think it was 30 days in training or something. So you had 2 weeks in a hole, right? I don't think you got paid for the training. It was something weird, but we didn't get no paycheck for a long time. So if it's 2 weeks in a hole, then the third week you got paid or something like that. It was something weird. And I was just trying to figure out how I was going to make it, because the motel was far from there. I was like, man, I'm going to have to sleep in my van somewhere, which I had done several nights. I'm not going to lie to you. I had slept in my van several nights, but to save money. So lo and behold, I come out to training one day, and who do I see? A friend that I knew in Hawaii when I was, out there. And this friend of mine had 2 kids. She had 2 kids now. Real good, great person. And for some reason, I told her my situation, but we were very close coming up. When I was in the military, she was like the only person I would write and stuff other than family. Became like, she is like family to me, to be honest with you. But she had 2 kids, and she still gave me the money to make sure I was okay in the motel. And she didn't have money like that, but she still wanted me to be okay. So that ended up happening, but I paid her back, and then I got on my feet a little bit, and I couldn't believe that I was finally on my feet, because my whole family had heard about my situation with me losing my car, my home going into foreclosure, me pretty much sleeping in the closet when I was in Illinois, and that was at a family member's home. And me just, losing everything pretty much. All my family had heard about it. So I go to Philly, and Philadelphia, for those that don't know. There was like a little barbecue get-together type thing that my grandma, one of our family members was having, and my grandma wanted me to go to in the park. And I remember one of my uncles was there, right? And this whole time, when you going through the process, with the job and stuff, you're just trying to hold in. You're trying to fit in. I'm trying to fit in. I don't want people to know much about me. I don't want them to know I've been sleeping in the car or sleeping on the floor in this place, and all my stuff has been repossessed and all this craziness. So I've been holding in my excitement. I see this uncle of mine, which has always been like a cooler uncle. Not everybody in the family like him like that, but me coming up, I never really had a problem with him. Like, he was just cool to me. Every time I talk to him, I'm like, yeah, he's probably the most down-to-earth person out of all these people, and I seen him, and I walked up to him, and I was like, yeah, Uncle, I was about to say his name, but I was like, Uncle, and I was like, hey, I got this job, man. I'm working at this place now. And he was like, oh, yeah? I was like, yeah, you ain't gonna believe this, man. I'm making like $59,000 a year. And I'm, for some reason, I was expecting him to come back and be like, oh, you doing it? You gonna be all right, man? You just keep that up, type thing. And I don't know why I needed that at that time. I don't know why, because I've never been that type of person. But he looked at me and he said, that's it? I thought you would be making more than that. And man, let me tell you something. If that didn't destroy me, I don't know how to tell you it. Like, I don't know. But I thought about that like the whole rest of the time I was there. And I was trying to play it off. Like, I was getting upset with people for no reason. And I remember my drive back just feeling hurt, man. I mean, I was hurt because, when you go through things, it's tough to, like, when something good happens, you learn not to let yourself open up, not to allow yourself to get so excited or happy, because you learn quickly that with excitement normally becomes pain Like pain is right around the corner. You know, heartbreak is right around the corner. Something is right around the corner. But that situation hurt me, man. Like, it hurt me a lot. And it took me, on my ride home, I got back and I'm, you know, trying to get myself together, and I can't believe it, you know, because I was making like, I ain't gonna lie to you, my best job I ever had was like $12 and some change an hour. And I mean, you could only get that, like, you could only make decent money working overtime. I was working at a place called Racetrack in Dallas, Georgia, a gas station. And you could only, you were mandatory to work several hours overtime, like 20 hours or 10 hours overtime, something, just to get a decent paycheck. And it still wasn't nothing. Like, I still couldn't get bills paid. That's when my house got repossessed. Well, it said foreclosed. But let me move forward now. So that happened and that destroyed me. And I couldn't get that out of my head. I mean, that was in my head for like months. Months. I was in my motel and I ended up moving out of the motel into an apartment. Luckily, another friend I met at the job had a home being built, her and her husband, and the home got finished early, so they needed to get out the apartment and they needed somebody to take over the lease. So I got lucky because my credit was down the drain. So I took over the lease there and I didn't have to put down a deposit because they lose their deposit if somebody takes it over. So I had this cool apartment now, you know, and oddly enough, even though I was in an apartment with a great job, I still had, you know, the bull crap car at the time, the van. I still didn't, you know, I couldn't get out my head what happened with my uncle. Like, I couldn't, because for some reason, excuse me, burping and stuff. For some reason, his validation, you know, because I seen him as somebody I respected and, you know, looked up to, really. Like, I just somebody that would understand is what I thought. It really hurt me. And nevertheless, the story goes on. I'm going to try to wrap it up here, so hang in there. I remember I was again laying on the floor in this apartment. I've been in this apartment not too long, but I was laying on the floor in this apartment again in the living room. I didn't have a bed. No, I had a mattress too in the bedroom. It was a nice apartment. 2 bed, 2 bath, brand new type. You know, I mean, it was better than anything I ever had. You know what I mean? But I was laying on the floor and I was just like daydreaming, like, dang, I'm still on the floor, but look, I got a job. I'm doing things. I'm making things happen. And I quickly realized, you know, when I look at myself, if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. You know what I mean? So I started to learn to rely on myself and depend on myself. Like, a lot of time I would sit there and, you know, I'm not taking anything away from religion at all, but I would really depend on something else to do it for me. Like, if it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen. But when you down and out, man, you know, you look in that mirror and whoever you see there is who you have to rely on and depend on. That's what worked for me. You know what I mean? Because I know some people say it's not luck, it's not this, but I just learned if I didn't rely on myself, if I couldn't depend on myself, you know, not that uncle, then it wouldn't happen. And I kid you not, but I was laying on that floor and I got a phone call from that storage unit place, right? Back in Georgia. Now, at this time, I'm in Winchester, Virginia, got my job, all this stuff. The storage place calls me and says, hey, is this Rufus Patterson? I say, yeah, this is Rufus Patterson. They say, hey, we purchased the storage, the storage facility. They bought, these are new owners for the entire storage facility. They said, we noticed you have 2 lockers here. Did you want them or not? Because if not, we're going to put them up for auction. If you want them, you have to come get them. I said, well, how much can I get them for? I'm nowhere in that state. And I tell them I'm in Virginia, you know, I really want them. They're like, and I tell them it's just DVDs, but I tell them my story real quickly. I lost everything. The only things I have is right there, which was my furniture, all sorts of little stuff. They told me if I gave them $75, I could come down there and get both lockers. Man, let me tell you, when I jumped up, went and called the rental car company, I think it was Enterprise or somebody that has the vans and all that. But I went and got me a van, drove all the way down there, got my stuff, got back to my apartment. I could not believe that my life was getting together now. And it was weird, but I remember when I got back to the apartment and I unloaded, I was tired as hell, because I had to do it in between work. I wasn't about to take a day off, so it was just on a weekend. I was tired as hell, went all the way down to Georgia from Virginia. I walked in the bathroom and I looked at myself and I remembered what that uncle said. And I replayed it in my situation, and this is me looking in the mirror. I replayed the situation while looking in the mirror. And I had wished that I would have just came back and said, yeah, that's it. Because when I look at the situation now and I think about it, I should have been excited for myself. Like, it's okay for me to tell myself that story and let that motivate me. Like the fact that I went through it and I was there for me and I validate my stuff. And that's what we have to do. We have to rely on ourselves. We have to say, like, when we don't feel like getting out of bed to do a couple jumping jacks or walk that driveway or take the dog for a walk or do a couple of your band exercises, we got to say, if I don't tell me to do it, I'm not going to do it, because our workout partners ain't going to be there. Our family members ain't always going to be there. They're going to think you're asking for something or you need something. You know what I'm saying? Because you need it too much or you ask for too much. But you will never turn you down. Like, no matter what, you will always be there for yourself. And I know it sounds crazy, but I tell y'all my real life story, hoping that it motivates you. And it helps you to understand that you got to put you first. Because I think that one of the most powerful lines that I've ever heard is, you can't help anyone else until you help yourself. You dig? Enjoy you, enjoy life, and enjoy fitness in that order. My name is Rufus Patterson. You might know me as Bear. The summer is now. You dig?